Hello, everybody. Randy Reed here, Dojo Nation, and Tuesday tip of the day. Listen, a couple times a year, I get a phone call from somebody that is selling their martial arts school. I've sold a bunch of them over the years, so they want to call and get my input on it. So here's some of the advice I give them and some of the stuff that you can think about if down the road you're going to have an exit. What do you call it? An exit strategy to get out of your business. First off, something to remember is we're a service type business and you're going to sell for around 4 to 5 times your net. So if you've got a school that's doing 400 grand and you're netting 40%, 160,000, that thing's going to be valued somewhere around $600,000 to $800,000. Now, that being said, it's only worth what you can get for it. And in my situation, when I was selling schools, I had a bunch of schools. So not only did they get the school, they got the connection and the protection and the discounts and all of that being together. So there's a couple of different factors that go into that. But what I want you to think about is you're getting ready to sell that. We've got that number of 400,000. I wrote some notes down here. What if you could increase it by 100 grand to 500,000? Now you're going to be netting around 200 grand. Now the value of that thing went up to 800 to maybe even $1 million. So you're actually getting paid twice. You're making more money each year and the value is going up. That being said, also, I've seen schools sell for the price of a heavy bag. I've had people hand me the keys to a school for nothing. I've seen schools sell for $1 million. I've sold a bunch of them for some pretty good money over the years. How do they sell them? How do they get them financed? Well, I'm aware of people that have bought schools from bought operating businesses. Usually it's a student buying it from their instructor and been able to go to the Small Business Association, SBA, and get a loan. On the ones I did, I always financed them for them. So they were in effect paying me with my own money, but it gave me a stable income for years after. Interesting note, I sold one of the schools and I think the monthly payment was going to be, I don't remember, $3,000-4,000 a month. And they said, well, I could never afford to pay that kind of money. And I said, well, do you realize the school's netting $10,000 a month? And when you sign the paper, you're giving yourself a $6,000 a month raise. That was a relatively easy sale. So as you're starting to prepare for the future, keep in mind that you're going to get paid mostly on net. One of the numbers we used to use was gross, just because that's how we were doing it within my organization. The better that net is, the multiples are going to raise your yearly income. They're also going to raise the value of that place. You're also going to have a thing that we'll talk about more in this series called lesson liability. Lesson liabilities where someone is giving you cash for lessons and you owe them lessons or their money back. That's the law. And so if you're running a cash only business, if you're paid in full, doing nothing but paid in fulls, and you're trying to sell your school, you're going to have a huge lesson liability. Nobody's going to want to buy a school that has 200 students that are all cashed out and not generating money, and they need to generate their income by new business. That's a whole nother stream. But having a really strong monthly cash flow, having a really strong accounts receivable, especially if you're going to go SBA, you need to have everything in order. So as you're going through your career, I suggest that you keep these factors in mind, because at some point you're going to want to do something with it. People ask me about doing a partnership and that sort of thing. those are really hard to do. I mean, in fact, I don't know if I've ever seen them work. Somebody's got to be the boss, and you can't have two of them, especially when you're the boss. And then trying to sell it to one of your students, and then they're the boss of you, or they're in control. It's hard to do things that way. That being said, 100% of the schools that I sold, the next day that they owned it, they were in there painting, cleaning, going crazy. Every one of the schools did. Every one of them did way better running it than I ran it. They were focused on that, and we've got some pretty spectacular successes over the years. Don and Teresa Weidman, I don't know if you saw the post going on, they just purchased a 29,000 square foot beautiful building. They're running $1 million a year school. They did way more with it than I ever did. So and it's neat. It's part of your legacy as a school owner to be able to pass that stuff on. And so those are just some of my thoughts on it. If you have any questions, you can send me an email if you want to, rapidkick@gmail.com. Be happy to answer any questions. Randy Reed here for your Tuesday tip of the day. Hope you enjoyed it.